Good evening. This is Maestro Cortella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Estia Province. Our first player is the great Cornholio, playing as the Techmarine. This is a Space Marine ranged hero. Starts out with a bolter. You can upgrade him to a plasma gun, a melt-a-gun, or a power axe. He can repair vehicles, build turrets, and relay beacons. His teammate is 531st, playing as the Space Marine Apothecary. This is a healing commander. He has a targeted heal, a passive heal aura, later on an even better active heal aura. Not the greatest fighter, but I mean he's not bad either. Next up, we've got Deckard Kane. Stay a while and listen. This is a support commander. He is a squad, believe it or not. He's got Stormtrooper retinue members. He can upgrade to have a Sergeant, a Commissar, as well as a Vox Operator. And he also has a lot of abilities for buffing Imperial Guard squads. On the other team, first of all, we've got DarkHero, playing as the Mekboy. The Mekboy is a teleporting orc ranged hero. He starts out with a little shooter. He can actually get set-up weapons, and he also can tie things up, and he's got some interesting war gears as well. Next up, we've got Karnak playing as the Imperial Guard Inquisitor. This is a disabling and debuffing commander, and with certain war gear upgrades, she can also become a tanky melee hero. And finally, we have Djinn playing as the teleporting warp spider Exarch. Equipped with dual hand blades as well as dual death spinners. He can tie things up, shoot things from behind cover. He should always be in cover, as well as harass resource points. Alright, over here, Techmarine getting very, very close to the orcs. I think probably issued an attack order, but all of these orcs were behind this line of sight blocker. So the Slugger Boys actually force off the Techmarine. However, the Slugger Boys now taking a lot of damage on their approach. So they get out of there. Attacks actually being prevented from doing their range damage because the Mekboy is tying them up. And this is pretty good for them, especially if the Shooter Boys will start shooting. But actually, here's a lot of support from the Imperial Guard, from Karnak. So that was a losing engagement for the Tactical Marines. Cornholio gets forced off, and he actually calls the double, since both Karnak as well as DarkHero were in this lane against Cornholio by himself. Meanwhile, on this side, Lord General is back out. He's reinforced his Stormtrooper retinue members. They are 30 requisition to reinforce, which is actually pretty expensive, considering they don't really offer that much in terms of damage. They mostly just offer survivability. Their damage is actually pretty minimal. Well, maybe not minimal, but it's weak. I believe they do. The individual Stormtroopers on the Lord General do about 4 DPS piercing. The Lord General himself does something about 20, 21. Sergeant range DPS is definitely negligible, though, but he allows you to distribute med packs to any of your own squads, as well as you can even give it to an allied squad. Anyway, Tax sitting in cover for both 531st as well as Cornholio. They are going to get hit from the side by Karnak, but Karnak is somewhat unsupported. I mean, we've got the Slugger Boys charging in, but they've been hit by the Mastercrafted or Bolter's high-powered shot, so they took a lot of damage on approach, and they were suppressed for a while, so that was definitely not a good engagement for DarkHero, and the Shooter Boys were retreated quite a while ago. Pretty decisive win, actually, this time for Cornholio and 531st combined, now fighting together. So Karnak pulls back, kind of at the suggestion of DarkHero, who himself had to retreat. And this means Karnak at least is able to stay out on the field. Interestingly, they are making a contested power farm over here, and this would give them a bit of a power advantage. They should have a greater power income. They've got plus 59 to the plus 52 of the blue team, and that should actually become even larger once this particular generator right here finishes building, since it hasn't. And now they're at plus 64. So anyway, Assault Marines jumping in, actually with a staggered jump for some reason, and the Apothecary went down. He was actually getting knocked down by the more DACA global from the Shooter Boys, which is a global ability from the Mekboy. Very, very powerful global. It makes orcs do knockback with their range damage. It's very, very powerful. Anyway, we have a smoke shell going in from some artillery spotters from Karnak that would reduce the range of any targeted squad that gets hit by it by 50%. And tactical marines there looked like they were going for force melee on the spotters, but ultimately just decide to retreat out of there. Mekboy is trying to tie things up, but he actually teleports out of there. He could have continued to tie up the Devastators, but he might have been at risk for going down. Wow, this Sentinel being really, really brazen goes for a stomp on the Scouts. And I think, if anything, this Sentinel is incredibly lucky to be alive. Mainly lucky that this Devastator Marine with Vengeance rounds was targeting the Guardsman rather than the Sentinel. With how deep that Sentinel went in, it definitely would have died if this Devastator squad was actually targeting the Sentinel. It might have even been dead even without Vengeance rounds, but with Vengeance rounds, very undoubtedly, that Sentinel would have died if the Guardsmen were not drawing the fire. Sentinel is moving again. Very, very brazen play. It's got... Oh, it took a sniper shot. So it's very, very low in health. It's not... There's no way it's going to make it out of there alive. Yeah, that was a little too bold and very, very foolish to just charge in like that. I mean, I kind of saw what he was going, which is he wanted to stomp the Devastator. And Devastators can be a little tricky to deal with as the Imperial Guard, but that just wasn't a good... just wasn't a good play by Karnak at that particular point. Anyway, Techmarine allowing himself to get behind the line of sight blocker, kind of charging these shooter boys by his lonesome, but he is going to get support from the Assault Marines right here, as well as the Tactical Marines, and this should now be a winning engagement for the Space Marines. They're teamed up together. Techmarine even gets to stay here, and it even has a decent amount of health left. Meanwhile, Karnak, I think, is not in a good situation. Oh! Many of those squads get knocked over by Catachan Devils by Karnak, and I think Deckard even answered back with a little bit of knockdown of his own. He's also charging in because he has the grenade launchers on his Lord General, grants him the move ability, but many of these squads are staying in way too long. We've got Catachan Devils pretty close to death. They're at 41 hit points, 2 out of 6 models. We also have the Holy Pyre active from the Inquisitor's Holy Brazier. This is a persistent flame effect. It also does debuff. The damage it would do to a squad like Tax is pretty minimal. It's mostly good for doing damage to squads like Hormagaunts, Termagants, Guardsmen. Would be very good against them. The main reason you would want to use it against something like Tax is that it also debuffs them. So it reduces their damage. Anyway, Tank Bust is out on the field for DarkHero. This is purely a preemptive purchase, I guess. He just wants to be ready for when vehicles inevitably hit the field. There are no vehicles yet fielded by the blue team, but we do have a Techmarine player, so it is almost inevitable that there will be vehicles to deal with. The Techmarine with his synergy with vehicles being the best in the entire game, he really should be getting some kind of vehicle. Anyway, Scouts right here taking a lot of damage, get out of there with one model, and it looks like DarkHero, along with a squad of Karnaks, now moving back into the contested VP, and they should be able to take it. Blue team actually with a significant lead in VPs in the bank. They've got 491 to 319 for the red team. Meanwhile, on this side, we do see a vehicle out. It is a Wraithlord. A Eldar Walker does splash damage with its swings, 85 DPS heavy melee, and the splash damage. Did a lot of damage to this particular squad of Guardsmen. Grenade on retreat, oh my god! Alright, that wiped the Catachans, as well as did a lot of damage to the Guardsmen as well. Yeah, almost wiped 2 squads. Man, if it had wiped this squad of Guardsmen as well, that would have been ridiculous. So very, very nice grenade by Djinn. Wraithlord currently has no shoulder-mounted weapon, so it's mostly about its melee damage at the moment. Assault Marines jump in on a Orc Blob that has no melee counter initiation, really. So yeah, most of these units are just retreating to minimize their losses. The Shooter Boys are going to start taking model losses. Yeah, they took 2 model losses right there. I think just a little too late on that retreat. I mean, even trying to keep those shooter boys in just wasn't going to work out that well, and he ended up losing 3 models unnecessarily. So Catachan Devils right here. Assault Marines jump in, but a little bit risky for them. They're going to be jumping into Catachan Devils. We have the Holy Pyre, so it's going to debuff the damage of the Assault Marines. These Assault Marines actually really not in a good situation. They get a heal from the Apothecary, but it's still not working out that well for them. They should be using Merciless Strike against the Catachan Devils. They finally use Merciless Strike a little bit late. I think they're lucky though. Oh, but they lose another model from ranged fire on retreat. These Catachan Devils though, they need to get out of there or they're going to get wiped. They get wiped. So Catachan Devils at that point were overextended. Should have been out of there. Could have been some lag. You never know these days. Lag, unfortunately with the new system, if you lag a little too long, you are basically a sitting duck while the rest of your opponents keep playing. So you really just want to not lag, pretty much. Does create a smoother experience for everyone else involved, though. And it looks like Djinn actually doing pretty well on this side. He's got the Wraith Lord. What kind of AV response are we going to have from Deckard? Deckard does have some Melt-A-Bomb Stormtroopers, or not, well, anti-armor kit. They have a Melt-A-Bomb as well as Melt-A-Guns. So he does need to be a little bit careful about this Wraith Lord. Actually getting a second squad of Stormtroopers. No upgrade on that, though. I actually think, I don't know, I don't really feel like, I personally don't think he's going for double anti-armor kits. I personally don't think double anti-armor kits is really that great of an idea. I mean, certainly for taking out a vehicle, it will work very, very well. But I just feel like once you take out the vehicle, having 2 squads of Melta Stormtroopers really isn't that great. If anything, I think he would be better off getting even something like a las cannon. That would actually be cheaper.
The enemy is captured, adding support structure.
Anyway, back cap by some Howling Banshees. Howling Banshees only at about 60% of their health. Decide to take on the Assault Marines anyway, and it looks like 531st not really paying attention quite yet. Alright, finally we do see the Merciless Strike, but the Sergeant went down. And looks like, alright, 2 Howling Banshee models went down as well, so that's not a huge loss. Oh god, this Wraith Lord is done. Alright, so, I mean, the anti-armor kit Stormtroopers do take out the Wraith Lord, and that does make Djinn a lot less threatening than he would be with the Wraith Lord. But, I mean, these Stormtroopers right now aren't really... Like, right now, an Assault Kit Stormtrooper squad would be worth so much more than a anti-armor kit Stormtrooper squad. We've got scouts in cover, and these are completely vanilla scouts. One of them is even level 2, though, and they're just taking a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I don't know. He doesn't have any upgrades on his scouts. I guess part of the reason Cornholio is teching pretty fast. He's in tier 3. He's almost got enough resources to put down Terminators or a Venerable Dreadnought, which must be what he's going for. Otherwise, I think it would really benefit to have some kind of upgrade on his scouts. Well, I'm not even sure, actually. It might even be a little too expensive to upgrade to a Sergeant just to make the squad tougher and give them a little extra range damage. But, I mean, the double scouts right now I feel like aren't really doing a whole lot. They're not going to be contributing a whole lot to combat. We have a Manticore strike. I hear the sound of a Manticore. It's going on a squad of Plasma Cannon Devastators, but they do retreat out of there. So we've got several Devastators. We've got Devastator Marines level 2, Plasma Cannon Devastators, another Plasma Dev building for 531st. But with a Manticore out on the field, we are going to need some quick reactions by these players to not lose their setup teams. It is entirely possible. Ooh, are we going to see this Fire Prism go down? Now, unfortunately, I think this Fire Prism is, well, not unfortunately for... Actually, the Fire Prism might go down. Close call. What he would need to do would actually be to force melee. He might not even need to, but... Alright, so Deckard did not get a whole lot out of that. I mean, he threatened the Fire Prism, but he did not lose the Fire Prism. And he lost both squads of Stormtroopers. What a nice play. I thought that last Stormtrooper was going to get out of there, but he was finished off by the Hammer of the Witches from the Inquisitor. So that was unfortunately not very well played by Deckard, very well played by Karnak to finish off that squad. Alright, so a little bit of a standstill in the middle, or is it? We have Great Cornholio now pushing forward. Looks like he lost one of his scouts. There's just so much range DPS out on the field that it's tough for scouts to actually contribute to combat without bleeding or without getting wiped entirely. This is a Mega Rumbler of all things, but the Mekboy goes down in the process. So that was a little brazen. Mega Rumbler, interesting ability. Stuns and knocks down things around the Mekboy, but the Mekboy himself is very vulnerable. And the ability has a little bit of a start off. Oh my god, friendly plasma cannon shot, killing a bunch of Assault Marine models. These Assault Marines, I mean, the lead model, at the very least, which should be a Sergeant. Yeah, that's a Sergeant. At least he still had a ton of hit points, but they got hit by a friendly plasma cannon shot, and that nearly killed them. And it looks like we've actually got Djinn moving down to the natural VP for the blue team. Actually going to take it, along with, well, no, along with just by himself. Moving down a Fire Prism, he's got both Seer Council as well as level 2 Howling Banshees. He's chosen to get the Aspect of Fleetness. Aspect of Fleetness gives the Banshee Exarch dual power swords, so she gets power melee damage instead of heavy melee damage, and they can jump over obstacles. Sounds like a lot of plasma cannon shots are hitting orcs, but here we go with the Manticore Strike and knocking over this plasma cannon devastator. I don't know how much else it hit there, and this plasma cannon devastator just ended up getting healed by the Apothecary. Apothecary now fully kitted out with the Armor of Purity, improved medical equipment, and the customized Storm Bolter. So this is kind of like a heal spam build. With the Armor of Purity, he can do the heals more frequently. And with the improved medical equipment, he will always have the energy to do a heal, even if he also uses the full auto ability on the customized Storm Bolter. So 531st should pretty much always have enough energy to use a heal, or really any ability from his Apothecary. We have a Leman Russ equipped with a Vanquisher Cannon. However, it is getting whittled down a bit by a Bright Lance. It is being repaired as well. The Guardsmen in front are taking a lot of damage, and we also have the Dreadnought. And Red Team actually in retreat now. Fire Prism needs to back up, and a Leman Russ with a Vanquisher Cannon is a huge threat to a Fire Prism. Even Tank Buster Barrages are going in as artillery to knock things down. Alright, meanwhile, it really looks like the red team is pushing hard now. They're moving forward with, Karnak has a Leman Russ of his own, also with the Vanquisher Cannon. Vanquisher Cannon, more of a dedicated AV weapon. I'm pretty sure it can still hit infantry, but not as reliably as the default battle cannon, and definitely not with as much splash. But it does more damage, and it has extended range. It actually has longer range of any of the regular tanks, and this is assuming we don't really consider the Fire Prism a tank. We consider it a, like, artillery support vehicle.
Our Techmarine has gained a...
But otherwise, the Leman Russ with the Vanquisher, it will outrange all Predator variants, looted, as well as a looted tank. Alright, these Assault Marines jumping into way too much stuff. They're in a lot of trouble. They are at 500 hit points, level 3, so they actually have a decent pool of hit points that has been increased. And now we even see Djinn making a hard lane switch, and we have 531st. He's calling out the triple. They are in a bit of trouble right now. I think this Dreadnought cannot afford to just stop there. I was going to say the Blessing of the Omnissiah might save it, but if it just stops, then it's not going to get saved. I think that Dreadnought had a chance to make it out of there alive. Unfortunately, I think it was blocked by the squad of scouts. So Red Team now pretty convincingly taking the contested victory point. And we do have some guardsmen that are just sitting on backwater duty. They got to do something. At least, yeah, start bashing the generators if you're going to be here. But their time might be better spent over here providing repair support for their Leman Russ. Anyway, Terminators, we got the lead Terminator standing behind a column but shooting anyway. Or maybe not shooting. Terminator's actually not doing much. Alright, now he sticks the gun around the side of the column, and now he's shooting, but he's shooting at a Leman Russ, so he's not going to do a whole lot of damage to that, and when I say not a whole lot, I actually really mean almost nothing. Piercing damage is almost useless against vehicles. It is actually probably the worst damage type against vehicles in the entire game. I'm pretty sure it is. Plasma cannon shot gonna go in, knocks those shooter boys down, takes out 3 models while the Terminators continue to shoot at them. Terminator's such a high DPS squad. And they also have extended range with the assault cannon. The assault cannon does have longer range than the Stormtrooper models. I think one of the disadvantages actually to going with the assault cannon is that I think when you issue attack orders, the assault cannon model will shoot by himself, and the Stormbolter models will not shoot. Pretty much if the assault cannon model is shooting at max range, then the Stormbolter models are not in range, especially because the assault cannon model stands in front most of the time. So yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of times where this Terminator squad, now the Stormbolter Terminators are finally shooting, so that's actually like a consideration of the assault cannon upgrade. Like, you actually will do less damage if you issue attack orders and the Stormbolter models are not shooting. Alright, orbital bombardment, managing to catch some guardsmen in retreat. Dire Avengers kind of just standing around there, so I think this squad of guardsmen, yeah, that's done. They really got, like, gived in midair. So some squad loss, well, mainly just one squad loss for Karnak. Deckard, meanwhile, lost both of his Stormtroopers, or both of his guardsmen, so I don't know where they went. He did also lose both of his Stormtroopers earlier on. Ooh, we see some of those long-range cannon shots from the Leman Russ on the Fire Prism. And the Vanquisher Leman Russ actually did finish off a squad there. It finished off an infantry squad, I saw it. So the Vanquisher Leman Russ can definitely still function against infantry, although it is, I would say, the least effective of the Leman Russ cannons for anti-infantry. It does more damage than the default battle cannon, but the default battle cannon just has great splash. I've seen the default battle cannon on the Leman Russ do some really nasty things to squads. Manticore Strike goes in, but mostly dodged, actually, so pretty nice awareness by the red team to dodge. Assault Marines jump into some flash gets. We've got double flash gets, I believe, yeah, for DarkHero, double flash gets, so that's a huge amount of range DPS. I think if the Assault Marines, meanwhile, possibly getting a little overextended. They're still chasing down the flash gets, and I mean, they'll win against the flash gets, but now they're taking so much range damage. Alright, they've got 3 out of 4 models. Possibility, yeah, they took another loss on retreat. One just got, like, totally gibbed. And red team managed to hold on to the contested VP all throughout that, pretty much. Here's the Mekboy again. Mekboy looks like he's about to do Mega Rumbla again for kind of no reason, just to break apart the ground, maybe create some cover. I'm sure he's not doing that intentionally, but that's, like, I guess the best positive side effect on using a Mega Rumbla when no enemies are present. I mean, with all these craters, there's actually so much cover here right now. Alien beams. So we've got a Predator as well from Cornholio, upgrading to the las cannon, already has the extra armor. So Space Marine Predator, pretty tough because it can get that las cannon. Well, pretty tough because it can get the extra armor, rather. And it can also do quite a bit of damage. Certainly to other vehicles. It is actually one of the most powerful AV sources in the game. I would say it's probably the most powerful ranged AV that does not snare. Actually, it might just be the most powerful ranged AV against vehicles, since even the ranged AV that snares does less damage to the Predator. Doing 55 DPS armor piercing, which, I mean, if we think about it, las cannons are either doing 40 or 33 DPS. Most things like a Venom Brood, I believe, is doing about 36 DPS. A Missile Tac doing about 17. So Lascannon Predator really just one of, if not the highest source of range DPS against vehicles. It does not snare, however. Assault Marines jumping in again, except they're not Assault Marines anymore. They're Vanguard veterans. And the Seer Council are actually very low on health. Seer Council needs to get out of there. They get hit. They're going to go down, quite possibly. A very, very close call. Another Manticore Strike. Can the Manticore Strike finish off the Seer Council in retreat? The Manticore Strike does finish off the Fire Prism, however. Does get some friendly fire on the Vanguard veterans, but only one mono loss, and then, oh, two now. Man, so many of those Vanguard and Assault Marine models are getting gibbed on retreat. But with the Manticore kill on the Fire Prism, that was worth it. Manticore now going for the Leman Russ. Leman Russ is at least tough enough that it can survive a Manticore Strike at full health, even if you're not paying attention and don't move it out of the way quick enough, especially with its damage resistance. And especially with the repairs that it's getting. So there must be a repair bunker here that is giving it repairs. Blue team now with the double cap, but that won't last too long because now the Inquisitor is getting a decap. I don't think the Inquisitor is going to be able to finish the cap, however, because we've got another Leman Russ shooting at it. Deckard now has strictly vehicles. He's got artillery and tanks, and no infantry whatsoever. Mainly going to be relying on the repairs of his own bunker. Lascannon, meanwhile, taking shots. Lascannon on the Predator, that is. And it looks like Terminators are now leading the charge. These are Terminators from 531st that do not have the Assault Cannon. These days, it actually seems like the Cyclone Missile Launcher is actually the best upgrade on the Terminator, since, I mean, the Terminators already do a lot of range DPS, even if you don't get the Assault Cannon. The Heavy Flamer kind of changes the role of the Terminators a little bit more, and, well, effectively reduces their range because they'll try to close into range for the Flamer. Avatar goes down. I don't... Like, I feel like it just shouldn't have been there as long as it was. Another Manticore Strike going in on the tax. I feel like something is dying, but I'm at the point where I can no longer tell what. Definitely a Terminator model died. And we have a baneblade from Karnak. Baneblade should be able to easily get rid of this Devastator Marine squad. It does use the Demolisher cannon shot on the Devastator Marines, kills a model. Another Manticore shot going in. The Baneblade does need to be very careful, however. There's definitely some very powerful AV here between the Vanquisher Leman Russ as well as the Lascannon Predator. Not to mention a Tactical Marine, a level 4 missile tack to throw on top of that. So, missile tack usually a softer form of AV, but at level 4 it's getting just a little bit harder. Here goes another Manticore Strike. These Seer Council in a huge amount of trouble, and they're going to get wiped. Seer Council are down, got hit by marked target, but here is an Eldritch. Takes out the Lascannon Predator. I think it's snaring the Leman Russ, and we might have the Baneblade go for the kill. Baneblade, if anything, looks like it might be targeting other things, targeting Manticores, or just creating general destruction. This Leman Russ, well, I would say in trouble, except it's so tough. And it was still getting repairs from nearby bunkers. This Baneblade is in a bit of a precarious position. It's definitely exposed. I mean, this is pretty much a full commitment from the Baneblade. Here is an orbital bombardment as well. This is getting crazy, but the Manticores are also in a position where they could be in trouble. I think this Baneblade is done, but here's Arax. The orbital bombardment goes off. Baneblade is down, and the rocks are raining down from the sky. And, Leman Russ also lives. Alright, oh, where are these Terminators even going? Oh, those Terminators, I think they were trying to go back home, but they were just too far overextended. teleport was on cooldown, couldn't get out of there. Battle Wagon's still alive. Yet another Manticore Strike going in, but where? I can't even see it. Going in on the bunker, does quite a bit of damage to the bunker, nearly wipes out the bunker, does take out about 380 of the bunker's hit points. And I mean, these bunkers are keeping all of these vehicles repaired, so yeah, I mean, they really got to do something about these bunkers pretty much. 531st calls out that he's only got ASM left, so what he's got to do is, like, buy a new unit. He's almost at the point where he should be able to get some kind of new unit. Deckard, meanwhile, could get something himself. So Deckard is asking whether he should get a Manticore or a baneblade. He says he's going to save up for a baneblade. His requisition income is rather low, but at the same time, he doesn't have a whole lot of bleed. Well, I guess his only bleed is the Lord General. But otherwise, his tanks are not going to bleed. So, but he just has such a low requisition income. Oh, we got the building destruction from the Mekboy. Where is the Mekboy? He's not going to make it out of here alive, and he doesn't. Oh, and a Leman Russ is going to go down for Deckard. It does, unfortunately, for Deckard. Just extended a little too far forward and probably just taken a lot of damage from a Vanquisher Leman Russ as well as a Fire Prism. And what else? Oh, a Bright Lance as well. Manticore Strikes going in, hitting the Leman Russ directly. Leman Russ goes down as well. My god, taking hits. Manticore Strikes just all over the place, and that's going to bait the Predator into being exposed as well. As well as here's an orbital bombardment. So many things going on. So many tanks dying, so few squads and units. Alright, VPs are 182 to 77 in favor of the blue team. Blue team going to go for a decap though on the contested VP. Looks like we had an incendiary mortar shell go in on the Terminators. That's not going to hurt them that much, but this Bright Lance, certainly they do need to be careful about that, as well as any shots the Leman Russ might take at them. But it looks like the Terminators will get out of here without taking any losses. They're going to need to get back to get some healing. It would actually be nice if there was a healing bunker as well. But Deckard right now really just trying to save up for that Baneblade. I bet he's only 100 requisition away, and his requisition income is now a bit higher ever since having lost the Leman Russ. And here we go with a Batcap by the Lord General. Very, very well done. Predator needs to get out of the Bright Lance's range. It's still in the range. It's still in the range. It's going to go down. Boom. Oh. Commandos around. Commandos. Oh, commandos are around. They are hunting Manticores. Be very, very quiet. They are hunting Manticores. And one Manticore did get hit. Unfortunately, commandos, they do have that lone rocket launcher model if you get the knob, but it's still not really that powerful. This is going to be an Eldritch. An Eldritch on pretty much nothing. The best that can be said for that, it kind of denies the VP for a few seconds. And another Manticore Strike is going to go in, hitting a Devastator Marine squad, pretty close to wiping it. So, single cap for the blue team, but the red team is going to get their natural back. And the contested is still just that, contested. And there's so many craters here that there's actually so much cover here. There's just cover all over the place. Now, what I wonder about the craters, though, is how they actually work. In terms of cover is supposed to be directional. So normally if you get around the cover, then... But how do you get around the crater? The crater, it's not obvious what the directionality of the craters are. And, I mean, my guess is that it may actually just be that the craters actually give omnidirectional cover, and that should actually make sense. Realistically, not that this is a very realistic game. Alright, now it's the Inquisitor for Karnak going for a decap, and I don't actually think the Leman Russ will be quick enough to stop it yet. Not going to do enough damage to stop it, although the Inquisitor does still get scared off. I actually feel the Inquisitor could have stayed there and finished the whole cap with only the Lord General and the Leman Russ doing damage to it. Alright, so back in the middle, it looks like two Vanguard models went down, and they're getting controlled by the Warp Spider Exarch. Level 8 Warp Spider Exarch, controlling those Vanguard veterans using the Entangling Web, which grants the Entangle ability. It's a snare ability that can just be used on a targeted squad. But level 8 Warp Spider Exarch, enhanced Warp Generator, as well as improved targeters, so the Warp Spider Exarch is also just going to be doing a lot more damage. So our commanders actually must be pretty high level. We do have a level 10 Apothecary, so a level 10 Apothecary. Where did he go? Oh, he's just getting knocked around by the Manticore Strike. And he actually switches out to the armor of the Apothecary, and that does give him the Active Heal aura, which is a very powerful healing ability. Oh, but here is, again, the Commandos. They just might finish it off, except for the Assault Marine jump. Attempted to finish off Manticore with a rocket run. Fails! Ooh. What? Man. So very, very unfortunate plays by the red team. That was really, really sad. They committed hard to that. The Commandos, they lost some models. Commandos, unfortunately, just not that powerful as AV. I mean, they just have the one rocket launcher model, and it's obviously just not doing enough. And then we had the rocket run, and the rocket run is extremely, extremely good against infantry. And although it can do damage to vehicles, it's really not good as an anti-vehicle nuke. So who is capping it? It looks like the Mekboy is going for the cap, using the custom force field so that he will be resistant to range damage, but there's still just so much range damage here that I don't think he's going to finish. He's not going to finish, and he goes down in the process. So VPs, I don't know, it's looking like the blue team might take this. They just need to put a squad on the point, and Terminators are going to be a hard squad to remove off that point. Another Manticore Strike going in, though, but that's not going to stop the Terminators, or is it? It's certainly going to destroy, do a lot of damage to them. It did do more than about 75% of the damage, and now they're getting healing. So, ooh, here's the decap again from Karnak. Karnak with the decap to try to keep the red team in this game. VP's now even out at 162 to 113. The Lehman Russ, the Vanquisher, the Executioner Lehman Russ by itself, clearly not enough to stop the decaps that are going on right here. Not really enough damage to single entities on the Lehman Russ, I think. Alright, Commandos get a decap, so it's actually now a single cap for the red team. They managed to stay in the game. What else is going on here? We see the Baneblade moving forward, but what do we have? We have got double Executioner Lehman Russes as well as a Manticore. Manticore should probably start opening fire on the Baneblade, and the Lehman Russes should be really trying to go for hits, because the Baneblade is now overcommitting. This is their chance to take out the Baneblade. They just got to be really, really careful about any kind of blue team unit or infantry unit getting on this point. So instead it's Manticore Strikes going in on the red team. But they've got 3 tanks. With 3 tanks, they should be able to take out the Baneblade. If they push for the Baneblade, they will take it out. But they're not going for it. We might have a Blessing of the Omnissiah Global. We've got Tax on the point, though, so if they succeed with this cap, that's probably going to be the game in their favor. Manticore is so overexposed. Manticore Strikes are going to go in. It's a little too late, though. So I think this, unless... Alright, this is definitely going to be the game. It's just too close to call. Or not, it's not too close to call. It's just, yeah, they can't do it. So that is the game in favor of the blue team. VP's ticking down in their favor at 153 to 0. Great game. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.